What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the channel with me, Clem Boogie. Week 13 of the college football season. Folks, we're entering the home stretch. A lot of teams at this point in time, it's merely for style points and gearing up and positioning for whatever bowl game they're going to be playing in as the winter season hits us. But with that being said, you know how I give it up on this channel. 4 picks, 1 upset alert. Let's make some money. First game up is Louisiana Lafayette versus Florida State. In this game, I anticipate Florida State to cruise on by simply by their sheer athleticism and just overall better talent that they may possess on their team, on their field. After all, they are playing at home. And also giving them ground in the ACC and positioning themselves to potentially be in the ACC championship game. But, you know, that is a TBD type situation going on with that as other teams need to restructure. You still have Clemson, who's a high power and also in the top 10 overall in the nation. So I'm looking for Florida State in this game primarily to just, impose their will and just leave their imprint all over the game from the beginning of kickoff. And they will be covering the point spread. And I believe it's set at 24.5 points. Next game up is TCU visiting the Baylor Bears. This is going to be an interesting game played. I'm just, kind of dumbfounded that it's going to be an early game, considering the tension between these two teams. With that being said, TCU, for some reason, is only favored in this game by 2.5 points. Now, what does that tell you? Conventional wisdom tells you that bookmakers don't really trust TCU. Actually, the last couple weeks, bookmakers have not trusted TCU. But with that being said, you never know with these things. You have to play the games. These are just merely numbers that we're seeing. And, what's left on the field, that's going to be the determining factor. But, with all things being said, TCU still has Max Duggan. He is a candidate for the Heisman Trophy this season. He's been playing stellar football, throwing the ball all over the yard, utilizing all his weapons. And, TCU has seemingly been, on fire, defeating teams and just seemingly just playing through. They're playing the people they have on their schedule and beating them convincingly. On the other side, you have Baylor Bears. To much of people's surprise, they are improved. They were shocked earlier this season by BYU, but since then they've been, on the up and up. Their offense seemingly has gained life and has proven to be trending in the right direction. But with all things being considered, with the history of these two teams, TCU has beaten up on Baylor the last few seasons. So I'm looking for Baylor. I'm not necessarily saying Baylor's going to win, but I do feel Baylor is going to keep the game close enough. I think it's going to be definitely a nip-tuck type situation. So I'm going with Baylor getting 2.5 points. Next game up is Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. One team possesses a 7-3 record. The next team possesses merely a 500 record. You would think the team with the higher record would be the obvious pick. No, it is not that case. In this case, there are two teams going in different directions. Actually, both teams are, below expectations entering the season. So with that being said, Oklahoma State, they did have their prize quarterback, Spencer Saunders. He was projected to be a Heisman hopeful, definitely first round pick. Like I've said in weeks past, he will be playing Sunday for somebody on somebody's franchise. But with that being said, we're talking about this weekend's game. As it pertains to this game, I think Oklahoma State has reached their brink. They need a new voice. Coach Mike Gundy is not it. He's been there for the better portion of 2 decades. He's played there. It's his alma mater. But with all things, people need change. And that's what I see coming for Oklahoma State after this season is all said and done. But as it pertains to Oklahoma, No one had any real expectations. Face it, Lincoln Riley had moved on, moved to the West Coast, and he took the quarterback with him. So they had to start from scratch. But, they've been scratching and clawing in some games. They had gotten snake bitten as far as the injury bug. And, they had to do what they had to do. But now, seemingly, they are all healthy. And when they're healthy, they're dangerous. And most dangerous at home. So with that being said, I'm taking the Oklahoma Sooners to beat and cover the 7.5 points that they are favored by against Oklahoma State. And that's my pick. Next game up is UCLA versus USC. Now, never mind the players, because it's definitely not about the players about this game. When they're going to be commentating this game, never mind the players. Yes, they are going to be the determining factors of the game. Yeah, they have some very skillful players on both sides, on both teams, but it's not about them. Let's face it, we're looking at this game because of the coaches. On UCLA side, you have Chip Kelly. On USC side, you have Lincoln Riley. Both deemed geniuses, both deemed gurus. You pick your poison on who you like. It's like apples and oranges. Both will get the job done. But in this game, it is not going to be about defense. No. There are no defensive coordinators that are going to be highlighted in this game. So if you're thinking about that, if you're looking for a bunch of 3-and-outs, you might as well forget it and change the channel. But with all things being said, you can look for a lot of trick plays, a lot of gash and dash plays. You can look for a lot of athleticism from both sides. Both quarterbacks, after all, are both dual threats. Wide receivers galore all over the place. And, they do have running backs when they choose to. But, with that being said, look for both of these teams to light up the scoreboard. I'm talking about green light, red light, 1, 2, 3 type situation. You're going to see a bunch of plays that 50, 60, even 70 yards. You're going to see a bunch of bombs thrown all over the place, a bunch of quick scores, just defensive assignments being missed. It's just going to be a whole host of things that give you the mixture and the rumblings of being an over. The game is set at 76.5 points. I'm telling you, people, the game will be trending only upwards. I wouldn't be surprised by kickoff time, which is late in the evening. It would probably trend up to almost 80 points to that trajectory. But with that being said, I'm not picking either side. Everyone likes offense. I mean, real offense. And this is exactly what you're going to get with these two teams. So I'm taking the over. And like I said, right now it stands at 76.5 points. But do yourself a favor. Pick the over. If you're looking for defense, you're sadly mistaken. And that's my pick. My upset alert comes by way of Ole Miss versus Arkansas. Ole Miss is, very finesse style. They like to throw the ball over the yard, show off their offensive repertoire. Lane Kiffin is an offensive savant. Versus Arkansas, very gritty. This season hasn't been going their way. They've been playing best mending type football they can. Their quarterback, who was highly touted, hasn't lived up to expectations thus far, but hopefully he comes back next year and gears up for, a Heisman push, but nonetheless, a much improved season. Lane Kiffin got his team as far as, I believe, number 4 in the country in the top 25 polls. And Arkansas was in the top 25, but, seemingly drifted out of it. They, possess a 5-5 record, which is not really good. I mean, it is substandard in college football, considering the landscape and what certain expectations are. But with that being said, as it pertains to the game, I look for Arkansas to just try to muddy up the game, not allow any of the Ole Miss offensive players to get their way, veering their steps, just overall imposing their will. On the Arkansas side, Jefferson, who happens to be the quarterback for Arkansas, he is a dual threat. He is a big body. If he can make enough plays, I like them enough to upset Ole Miss. He's going to create so many mismatches, so many problems for that Ole Miss defense. Ole Miss is not a highly touted defense. They're not stopping anybody. They don't have anybody that puts fear in your heart. So with that being said, I'm taking Arkansas. They are getting 2.5 points, but I'm looking for Arkansas not only with the points, but just to flat out beat them. And yes, that is my pick. So now you have 4 picks, 1 upset alert. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting harder and harder to make these plays, but we got to make them. There's money to be made, so I ain't mad at you. Anything, any goals or diamonds in the rough, look for it. Numbers are the numbers, but they actually have to play the game. We can be upset all we want, but at the end of the day, it's all about trial and error. So don't get discouraged. Just try it again. But until next time, you talking with me and chilling with me, Clem Boogie.